Hi, today let's discuss an important but a complex topic. The topic is the morality of selfishness. Selfishness is often considered a vice, and selfish actions are often judged to be wrong, right? But then the entire evolution of our species is based on selfishness. In everyday life, too, sometimes we ought to do what is best for ourselves. In a sense, we sometimes should be selfish, right? So, when is selfishness moral? Where do we draw the line? What determines the demarcation between moral and immoral selfishness? The ethical theory called ethical egoism asserts that we are always morally required to do what is in our own self interest. However, its advocates contend that's not necessarily the same thing as being selfish. In this video, let's discuss ethical egoism and the main arguments concerning it. Ethical egoism presents empirical, scientific, observational, or descriptive arguments about our motives. They contend that everything we do is an attempt to make ourselves better off. However, it's partially supported by evolution, but there's no good scientific evidence for this claim. Yes, evolution favors the survival of the fittest. Yes, we are sometimes selfish or seek our own best interest, but there's no cogent evidence to show that we are always selfish. Why? Because one, most of our motives have never been adequately examined to conclude anything like that. Two, it's usually hard to decisively establish what anyone's motives are, especially since motives are mostly mixed. They're not simplistic. Motives are very complex. It's difficult to decipher them, to disentangle them, our own, let alone those of others. So people who contend that humans are always selfish simply don't have any such evidence. And perhaps they could have such evidence, and that's why the view they offer it as a kind of belief. And if not belief, then it's an unverified assumption, which a belief is also most often. And therefore, this view can be accepted. It could only be true if we would always do what's right and could do no wrong. We would always do what is in our best self interest. Since it seems clear that we don't always do what's right or even try, then we can safely conclude that selfishness can't always be moral. Plus, our everyday observation shows that quite a few of us sometimes seem to be altruistic, unselfish, selfless. Hence, to say that being human is being selfish is nonsense. On the other hand, we overwhelmingly make choices that benefit ourselves, don't we? Confusing. So let's discuss it a bit more. First, let's try and understand selfishness. Selfishness doesn't mean possessing nasty dispositions towards other people. No. Such selfishness is rarely to our advantage, individually or collectively, especially in the long run. Selfishness doesn't mean that we don't help others. In fact, selfish people might be quite generous, quite helpful. Selfishness does mean, however, that what makes acting like this right when it is right is that it is for our own benefit. It makes us better off. So if you must help someone else, this is only because doing so would be good for you. And if you should refrain from harming someone, that's also only because doing so is for your own benefit. Number two, let's see why selfishness. One reason is that individuals know themselves best. Each know our own wants and needs better than others. Everyone should focus on themselves, and people interfering other people's lives tend to be perceived badly. Number two, the unique value of your own life. It takes a bit of selfishness to uniquely recognize the value of individuals' lives and goals. It does. Even if we accept that Homo sapiens are not the sole reason for the existence of universe. This means that each person has their own life to live for themselves, not anyone or anything else. However, life can often demand altruistic sacrifices of your interest for the sake of other people or abstract standards, patriotism, nationalism, religion, loyalty, friendship, or whatever. So, in order to be able to distinguish what makes selfishness right and wrong, you must build a strong moral compass to indicate what makes wrong actions wrong and right actions right. Now, followers of Kant say it is whether anyone is used as a mere means. So Kant, as we know, was categorical in his hypotheses. Then consequentialist people, relativists, or people who, Jeremy Bentham or other people who, of the same school, they say it's an action's consequences that matter. Now that is confusing, and those are two extreme ends. One means justify the ends, one no means, if means are poor, no end can justify those means. So I'll put it simply for you. Look, it is really how someone's actions in their own self interest impact others. That's about it. Number three, why not selfishness? Let's respond to arguments for ethical egoism by reviewing some of their premises. I'll cover the most important ones. One is selfishness and what's good for everyone. In response to the claim that selfishness is desirable because everyone adopting it would be good for all. No, we should notice that it is really not an argument for selfishness because the motivating concern is already everyone's interest. So that if it's everyone's interest, then that's not selfish at all. So it's not an argument for selfishness. Selfishness is when others' interests aren't important. It's only when only you should matter to you. Second, are we really always meddling with people when we help them? Well, this is a nonsensical argument. No, we're not meddling when we are trying to help a friend, when trying to help feed people who are starving to death, trying to save people from the danger they don't know about, or we are trying to help people who are living in dire poverty. That's not meddling. The second premise is selfishness and contradictions, as I put it. So, some people think that moral considerations should help resolve conflict. For example, who should win a national election? Well, moral imperative is that the one who will produce the best outcomes as the leader should win the election. However, the world of reality is different. There's a counter argument that can say that each candidate should do what is in their best interest, best self interest. What is their self interest is to win the election, but they can't both win. So you must try to do what's best for you. Not necessarily achieve that, but try to do. Actual success is often difficult, but everyone can try as per the rules of the game. Third is their selfishness and wronging others for your gain. Wait, I'll talk to you. Another objection takes us to the heart of the matter. Imagine this. Your credit card bill is due tonight, but you won't be able to pay the full amount until next month. So you'll be charged interest and a late fee. You just saw someone, however, accidentally leave their wallet on a park bench with a lot of cash in it. You saw where they went, but you could take the cash to pay the bill and nobody would ever know. You could pay the cash without telling and then anonymously return the amount. Or, more outrageously, you can steal from someone to pay your bill. So many believe that since actions like these are clearly wrong, this shows that ethical egoism is false and it doesn't best explain our moral obligation, even if we sometimes must do what's best for ourselves. Ethical egoists might consider this a question begging response to their theory. Well, question backing. So let me tell you. To back the question is to offer an argument that in some way assumes the conclusion of the argument as a premise. It's a type of circular reasoning. So here the charge that the response assumes that ethical egoism is false in arguing that ethical egoism is false. Now the real purpose of this video is to respond to this charge and explain why this argument, which I support, is against ethical egoism, is not question begging. And for that, we aren't assuming anything. We just have better and a stronger reason to believe that assault for personal gain is wrong than to believe that ethical egoism is true. For example, you know that racists and sexists and religious bigots and extremists don't agree that their forms of discrimination are wrong either, but this doesn't justify racism or sexism or extremism of any kind. Same thing some dictators believe staunchly, firmly, and truly believe in their cause. People sometimes hold false moral views, and this could be true of egoists who argue for ethical egoism. Racism, nationalism, all that is ethical egoism, more often than not. Number four, selfishness and discrimination. So now again, you know that racist and sexist and ethnic bigots and religious bigots think that the people of their group are entitled to special benefits and are even justified in harming people who are not of their group, who don't look like them, or who don't hold the same beliefs or same rituals, same practices. Egoists think something similar, but about themselves. The harm they allow for and inflict on other people just doesn't matter. But is there anything about one's race or sex or oneself that justifies treating others badly? No, no, no. So ethical egoism is a form of prejudice in favor of your own group of one, you. So let's summarize this. One, we agree with the ethical egoist viewpoint that everyone does have their own life, but we correct it with the fact that everyone's life and interest matter and not just yours or mine. Yes, doing what is right is sometimes in our own self-interest. But as we have just seen, that because an action benefits us is never the sole reason it's right. No, just because it benefits us doesn't make it right. And even more importantly, if an action is not in our own self-interest, but is the only right thing to do, we are obligated to do it nevertheless. So others' interest must be given moral consideration and moral weight, and we can never do anything wrong for being partial to our own interests and those of our family and loved ones. No wrong. We can never justifiably lose sight of morality to favor our interests over the interests of others. So I hope you see the balance now. That's it. Till next time. Thank you very much.